Fish Hawk TD. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm actually going to use the LiveScope in the front to watch it the whole time. You know, that's more than likely there's a temperature break in there somewhere. What's up, guys, welcome to another episode of Bass Union. Today's video, I'm going to show you guys a stupid simple way to find the thermocline on your body of water. We're on Lake Oroville today, so I'll show you exactly my settings on my graph and what I look for when I'm looking for that temperature break in the water column vertically. So stay tuned and I'll show you guys. I use the thermocline as a starting point when I'm trying to locate fish. You know, the bait love to hang on or above that thermocline. So I'll use that as a main starting point. Just, you know, if I'm on a new body of water, I'll try to find that thermocline and see where it's at. Right now we're like early winter, you know, we're like mid-December, almost Christmas right now. And water temperature, we got 60 degrees. With these storms that we got, it actually warmed the water temperature surface up a little bit. So that's gonna affect, you know, where that thermocline is in the water. As that temperature drops on the surface, that cooler water on the surface is more dense and will actually sink. So that's why I said in the previous video, when looking for that thermocline, it could be very deep. And as the water temperature gets cooler and cooler, that thermocline is gonna raise because that surface water is getting more dense and it's wanting to sink. And it's actually, it'll get to a certain point where that thermocline raises up enough where you get that turnover. So we're not quite there yet, but I am seeing a temperature break on my graph that I'll physically show you guys. And another thing I'll pull out is this little tool, this little gadget that I have that I can actually drop in the water and it'll show me the temperature for every 5 feet in the column. So I'll show you that after I show you the settings on this graph. First of all, you want to get over super deep water. You know, if you're on the bank, you're not going to see that thermocline, especially right now, because that thermocline's so deep. Right here, I got this Lowrance. I have my Sonar on 83 kilohertz. And what I'm gonna do, see, I have the sensitivity bumped way down just to show you guys, if you don't have your graphs dialed, this is probably what it looks like right now. So if you bump your sensitivity up, keep bumping that up. See, this is starting, see these little blue flecks are starting to show. -1, I'm on auto now. See, you're starting to see that. It's starting to be really blue right here. So I'm on +1, +2. See now, from what it looks like to me, that's either a temperature break or that's a bunch of bait down there in 140 to 160 feet of water. We're in 160 feet right now. I'm gonna get out even deeper. I'm gonna pull out maybe to like 200 feet of water and see if there's a gap between the bottom and that blue fuzz right here. If there's a solid streak of blue fuzz, I know that's where that thermocline is right now. So we're in 200 feet of water now. I have the sensitivity at automatic +3. And look at this solid line right here. And you see this area. So I'd say from like 160 to about 130, you know, that's more than likely there's a temperature break in there somewhere. And if there is bait in there, they'll be right above it. And that's exactly why you're seeing all this just fuzziness right here. So I'm gonna pull out the little gadget I was telling you about and we'll see 100% where that temperature break is and why we're seeing this on the graph right now. This little gadget I keep telling you about, this is actually a Fish Hawk TD. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not sponsored by these guys. This is what I use to find that thermocline, just to 100% know exactly that there is a thermocline. And so basically what this does, you hook this to your rod on your line, you drop it in the water, and every 5 feet this thing drops. It has a little temperature sensor and it'll actually tell you what that temperature is every 5 feet in the water column. So we're seeing activity, we're seeing something from 130 to 160, right? So as I drop this thing down, I'm gonna keep that in mind, and I'm actually gonna use the LiveScope in the front to watch it the whole time and to know exactly what depth I'm in. So I've never used the LiveScope to zoom in that far, 160 feet, but let's try it and see what happens. So I'm gonna hook this to the rod and drop it in the water. So the rod I'm throwing that on, Now we're just gonna hook this to one of these extra rods that I got. I'm gonna use a little heavier line just to make sure I don't break off. This is like 15 pound. I don't wanna lose this thing. If I remember right, it's like, it ain't cheap. Definitely not cheap, so I don't wanna lose it. And I doubt a fish is gonna bite it. So we're just gonna tie this on real quick. And we'll get up there, drop it in the water. We're gonna turn it on for the first time. We're gonna hold start, see how the readings, they're coming into play. See right here, ambient temperature is 57.2 degrees. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna drop it straight below the boat. I got the LiveScope going and the sonar. And you're seeing on the sonar, 83 kilohertz, there's a lot of activity around that 130 to 200 mark. I mean, there's all this blue blur. So on the LiveScope, you see it dropping. Should be able to see it on the sonar too. I'm gonna bump the gain down just a little bit on the 83. But you can see that hard line right there. See the LiveScope still picking up the temperature deal, the fish hawk. I'm gonna bump this gain up. See, I'm at 50 feet right now. As it's sinking, it's going away from me. See, it's still sinking right here. 50 degrees, 50 feet, 55, 60. I'm gonna keep lowering the depth. See, we're at 75. Now at 75, getting to 80. Getting deeper. Down to 85, 90. Still see it, barely. It's gonna be a good test of LiveScope too, how far you can see something, or how deep at least. Getting to 100. Where'd it go? 100. There it is. Still see it. 110. See if we can see it without the gain. Yeah, barely. Because I gotta turn it. No, there it is. Very faint. 120. Keep sinking it. And I lost it. Maybe if I bump the gain up a little bit. Super faint now. That's gonna be hard to see. It's not showing up on the LiveScope anymore. So I'm just kind of letting it sink a little longer and hoping that I'm there. Try to get this thing down to like maybe 200 feet. But I know I'm getting really close, so I'll just keep letting it sink. Keep letting it sink for a minute, so I know I'm gonna be around that zone. So on the sonar, it's showing anywhere from out here, like 110 to, you know, the real hard line is around that 150 mark. You know, we're seeing all this blue fuzz, so definitely that's gonna be a temperature break or and maybe a mix of bait actually above that temperature break. They like to hang around that Thermocline. That's probably good. Let's reel this up and see what kind of temperature readings that we got. Here we go. It's getting close. Almost getting a full spool now. Dobbins Champion Extreme's a great rod to use as fish hawk. Nah, I'm just playing. A little Dobbins plug right there. At 0 feet, 54.9 degrees. 5 feet, 54.8. 10 feet, 54.8. 15 feet, 54.8. 20 feet, 54.7. 25, 24.7. 30, 54.7. 35, 54.7. 40 feet, 54.7. 45, no change. 50, no change. 55, no change. 60, no change. 65. Okay, now we're starting to get a little cooler. 70, 54.3. 75 is 54.2 degrees. 80 feet, 53. 85 is 51. 90 is still 51. 95 is 50 degrees. 100 feet's 50. 105 is 49.9. 110 is 48.3. 115 is 47.7. 120, 47.5. 125 feet is 47.4, 130 feet is 46.8, 135 feet is 46 degrees, 140 feet is 45 degrees, 145 is 45, 150 is 44.7, 155 is 44.5, 160 is 44.5, 165 is 44.4, 170 feet is 44.4, 175 feet is 44.2, 180 is 44.2, 185 feet is 44.0 degrees, and 190 is 44. And I went right there, 190 feet. So at 0 feet, it's 54. On the surface, it's 54 degrees. And basically all the way 190 feet, we got down to, what was it, 43 or 44 degrees. So that's about a 10-degree temperature change. So as this surface temperature gets cooler and cooler, that thermocline, where that temperature break is gonna keep rising up. And you'll see that on your sonar. As say this water temperature gets like low 50s, upper 40s, or around that mark, you'll see that thermocline raise and raise. And like I said in the last video, just know what you want to target as far as bass is concerned. You want to be at that thermocline and above. So as that thermocline gets up into like that 60-foot mark, 50-foot mark, you just know that all those fish that are out deep right now, because they could be out here, out in the middle of the lake, around that thermocline in that deep of water. And as that thermocline raises up, it's gonna force those fish shallower. And just like I said in the last video, I remember a few years ago that thermocline was at 10 feet. That hard line was at 10 feet. And everything I was catching was right on the bank, right at 10 feet of water. You could throw a rip bait, you could throw a jig, you could throw a dart head, whatever, an A-rig. I mean, they were on the bank and they were freaking chewing. So, we just had some storms the last few days. I was thinking that water temperature was gonna drop a little bit, but it was actually a pretty warm storm. Actually had a mini tornado go through our neighborhood. It's kind of crazy. Maybe I'll put a few clips right here. But, I thought that might have churned the water up a little bit, maybe mix it up. But no, I think it warmed it up a little. So, just keep an eye out if we got any of these cold storms that come through. That's gonna drop the water temperature on the surface, and it's gonna affect that thermocline one way or another. So just keep an eye on it. This is kind of my little interpretation. Hopefully it all made sense to you guys. If you got any questions, put it in the comments. I'm no expert, but I fish for a living and this is what I do. I'm always looking for that thing. And it's been a lot of fun learning and showing you guys. So if you like it, give me a comment if you guys learned anything from it, and hit that subscribe button. If you guys like sports channel, pick up some merch, pick up some jigs, and we'll see you guys in the next video.